Okay, this will be the toughest one of the year for me, I'm sure. Um, no joke, this one's just too important. I'll admit, I've been having trouble finding the words to start this review. I honestly still just can't believe that the man, David Bowie, is no longer here. It feels like there's a hole that's been ripped in the creative world that just won't be filled. Honestly, the man is gone, but the legend and the music are still here, and they live on forever. And that's an important lesson here. And as a music reviewer, I can't let this last gift from David Bowie go unreviewed because it's truly beautiful. And it's the final chapter of something, one of the most creative and talented musicians that's ever lived. You know, if the next day was starting the final chapter, then this Blackstar is the beautiful end to a wonderful story. This album is Bowie pushing himself to make one last stand and make something creative and different. And he uses the help of Tony Visconti, who's been there with him for so much, and crafts an amazing all-star lineup of jazz musicians. Before his death, people thought this was going to be just a man looking back on his life and looking for the answers to big questions with a jazz lineup. But it's clearer now, to me especially, and everyone that's listened to it afterwards, after his death, listening to this, it's more the story of a man who sees his own death coming, just out of sight, and he wants to describe the feelings of the upcoming end and the meaning of life and everything as it happens. It's a very dark and hugely deep record. As a fan, it's very challenging to listen to it. You just try not to break down. Honestly, the first time I listened to it, I had to hold and not break down and just cry. Bowie has some history. Let's just say he's got one of the biggest rock histories in history ever. Honestly. Bowie attended Stockwell Infant School until he was 6 years old, accruing a reputation as a gifted child. In 1953, his family moved from Bromley, where he attended Burnt Osh Junior School. He was told that he was way above average in singing and dancing, even at that young. He took a piano, ukulele, and bass at the age of 9. In 1962, he moved to form his first band, Conrads. After that, he became involved from band to band for a while and changed his name to David Bowie to avoid being confused with the singer of the Monkees. In the mid-60s, the 19th century American frontiersman Jim Bowie, in 1967 he released his first solo album as David Bowie. In 1969 he released Space Oddity to a huge critical success. Bowie met Angela Bartlett in April 1969 and they married within a year. It was followed with 2 heavier full band albums. After this, he changed into the weird styles we know today as the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars era. Ziggy Stardust. What a weird era that legitimized him as a rock star. From there, he moved on to 2 more records into the Thin White Duke era, marked by funk, soul, and wild future with post-apocalyptic city in the background. It's marked by huge cocaine addictions. I don't know, cocaine, and more cocaine. And 3 new albums. Bowie moved to Berlin in 1976 and started working with Brian Eno on the Berlin Trilogy, as they call it now. This era was marked by even more cocaine, but mostly minimalistic albums. Following that, he released Scary Monsters and Supercreeps in 1980 and of course the mega hit Under Pressure that he did with Queen. It soon followed. He had a short-lived band called Tin Machine, but that didn't do very well and he moved on from it. In 1992, he married his current wife and moved into the Electric Bowie stage. This is more marked by electronic and hip-hop explorations of new dance-themed albums. The final stage is the neoclassicism Bowie. It's kind of moving away from electronic more minimalism, like with Heathen, Reality, The Next Day, and then Blackstar, we'll get to that. He makes a change here again, as you would only hope he would. Came out on his 69th birthday, and 2 days later Bowie died of cancer. It's heartbreaking, honestly. Well, let's go into it. Blackstar. I ordered this album in advance, and I didn't get the full disc till after he died, so when I finally listened to this album Monday morning at work, it hit me like a truck, honestly. Blackstar's title track is a 10-minute long, sparse and empty void of songs that seems to swirl the instruments around a voice that comes from weathered nowhere. It's powerful, it's in your face. The song is held together by a voice and a void, with hypnotizing noises and jazz saxophones all around it. It comes together to create this psychedelic jazz epic. It's powerful and painful with truly deep lyrics about a man. I mean, he's looking back up till from life to the day he dies. I mean, it's it's tough. He shines here vocally, even with the weariness in his voice. It feels perfect and raw. It's an album highlight for sure. "'Tis a Pity She's a Whore" is a very strange song that starts with a solid drum beat and some jazz sax. It's it's just a song. It's a great jazz song with David telling a story about either a strange interaction with a woman he actually met, which is hard to believe. So it was a good thing to me to find out that it was actually more inspired by a 17th century play of the same name, "'Tis a Pity She Was a Whore." It's a strange jazz song. We get to Lazarus, the real meat of the album, and the best song here. It's honestly one of the best songs he's ever written. This is Bowie's beautiful swan song. I first heard this song, I broke down. I cried. I don't do that easy. I mean, listen to this line. I mean, "Look up here, I'm in heaven. I've got scars that can't be seen." It's beautiful and it's painful. That's the first line of the song. He's singing with this raw power and saxophones and guitars grinding slowly behind him. It's a jazzy ballad of a gorgeous and powerful nature. The song is the moment that life flashes before your eyes for the last time before you can let go and finally be free. The song is the highlight. That's an understatement. It's the understatement of the century. This song is actually based on a character he's played called The Man Who Fell from Earth, and it's now been turned into a stage show of the same name, starring Michael C. Hall of Dexter, but that's not important. It's a love song. This way or no way, you know I'll be free. Tough stuff. "Sue, or In a Season of Crime" starts with a rocking bass line and a jazz percussion beat. It's more of a big kind of jazz band song with heavy bass lines and sparse synth thrown in. The jazz rock all just plays under the vocals of David as he sings this murderous intent of Sue. The song is a dark and creepy jazz horror story. Its intensity is driven by the crazy bass line here. "Girl Loves Me" makes the first use of the David scream. He's perfected this over the years, but this song has led to one of the most catchy, almost rapped lines. "Where the fuck did Monday go?" And it's strange to know that he was actually majorly listening to a lot of Kendrick Lamar when he was writing this song. So you can look back and, David Bowie was really up on the times. He was inspired by Kendrick Lamar on this one. The vocal style here, it's almost Pixie-like, kind of sing-songy, not quite as yelly. This song is a lot less horns infused, and it's kind of only a song about where did my time go. I love this song. It's weird. It's so very Bowie. It feels like something that just that left hook this album needed to make it just strange enough to be his kind of an album. It's really all you have left. "My last Monday I learned you died." So I can definitely relate to the core message. This is an album highlight. "Dollar Days" starts slower and less angrily with some smooth sax solos thrown in. It's a jazz pop song. It's slow. It sees Bowie looking back on all the things he'll never get to do again and convincing himself that it's okay. The great sax solo really drives this contemplative look back on his long and great life. "I Can't Give Everything Away" is the closer of all closers. Its synth line and horns are all over it again, but Bowie shows the full length of his still great vocal range here. It's raw and powerful. You can hear the strain, but it doesn't matter because it sounds great. This track is probably the least layers and it's most stripped back. It's a very simple written to write song, but it's just so beautiful. It sees Bowie in his most human and vulnerable state here. This is kind of the things about what you really leave behind in life that makes you think so much about this week and how terrible it's been with all the deaths. All these famous people. The things in the relationships are the things he thinks about here as he will remember them, as he thinks about how he'll be remembered as the song fades out. It ends the classic fade out of memory, and it's the last Bowie album. That's a tough sentiment. The album is the final masterpiece from one of the most powerful musicians in history, David Bowie. He goes out on top with the best band he's played with since probably the Spiders of Mars. It's a jazz combo from New York led by Donny Caslin, who's a famous, famous jazz musician. The album it's not anything traditional at all, but that's kind of the point. He goes out exactly like he wants to with an album that pushes boundaries and defies the norm for one final time. That's what he wanted. He'll be missed so much, and it hurts so much to know that even though there will be demos that'll probably resurface over the years, this is the last album to truly be a Bowie album with his touch. It's a dark album that deals with death, as obvious as it is. In the end, it captures the moments of life that are so beautiful, and it's such a haunting way to remember the man. I really would like to think that David Bowie never actually would die. I like to picture him just getting in a spaceship and flying home. So wherever you are up there in space, I just wanted to thank you for everything, Major Tom. The songs I would recommend on this are the whole album, but if you have to choose, check out Blackstar, Lazarus, Girl Loves Me, and I Can't Give Everything Away. It's a modern day masterpiece. 5 out of 5. Thank you so much for listening, and please check it out. Buy the album. All the money made on this record sales of January are going to go to cancer research. It was announced by his record label. So buy David Bowie albums because the money will be funding towards cancer research. Thank you.